clarity, clarity, clarity. And I think setting expectations is important. And Jim, I'm going to give you a little primer because last night we had a meeting with the Peer Network. We have a connecting lounge that we get together with every couple of weeks. And we had a dozen or so people there. And I asked them, I said, so Jim's coming this morning and we want to know, we're going to be talking about setting expectations. So I asked the group, kind of round table, and I said, what do you do to set expectations for your employees first? And then I asked them, what do you do to set expectations with your clients, with your customers? Because as we all know, that can go sideways. There can be disconnects with expectations and customers that are wrong fit as just as much as there can be employees who are wrong fit, or suppliers for that matter. So some of if it's interesting, the differences between what they said. One interesting one that I heard was, it was from a lady who works for Dynascape. And she said that they set 6-week milestones and 2-week sprints. And so their 2-week sprints are really to focus on, that nearer horizon, what are really the outcomes we're trying to strive for and what the expectations are in this 2-week sprint. And they renew every week. What's our 2-week sprint? What's our 2-week sprint? And then what are our 6-week milestones? And I thought that was that was a great takeaway, I think. And then a lot of them were talking about, job descriptions to set expectations and leading by example to set expectations. And then one of them said, we are so busy and we have onboarded so many people in the last few weeks. He goes, we're really shoving expectations down people's throats right now. He said, we don't have time for onboarding. We don't have time for training. And I said, I hope you show up tomorrow morning because you really need to hear Jim talk about expectations. So
I sure hope that person isn't setting expectations by leading by example. Whenever I hear an owner say, well, we're going to lead by example, I go, oh, no.
Yes,
oh, let's quit leading by, that's your problem. You're leading by example.
That's why you're here, Jim. So Jim Paluch from JP Horizons, a great mentor for Landscape Ontario members for many, many, many years. And we're thrilled to have you here. Appreciate your time and your valuable insights so much. So Jim, I'm going to hand it to you.
Listen, I want to, first of all, just as you talk about having the peer meetings last night, and then this meeting, and I know so much that you do. Isn't it awesome what you all have been able to do in Landscape Ontario, and how you share and how you work together and support each other and through the challenges, and I'm just impressed with that. And so Jackie and Scott, and you're on, and Rob, thanks for joining, and everybody is part of Landscape Ontario. You are a very unique bunch. You are tremendous in what you do and help each other, and I think that's pretty fantastic. It's a commitment to do it, and you stuck to that, and there's value. Certainly. Hey, but I want to try something else. Scott, you're going to think this is funny, but I've got my passport taken care of, and some special. If it's okay, Jackie, can I share my screen?
That's yes, you bet. I want to make sure
I can do it here. I got you.
You can. Yep.
Yeah. Here's what I want everybody to do. This is kind of a unique. Is my screen up there?
It is.
Here's what I would like everyone to do is, if you would meet, I've got the helicopter waiting outside. It's probably going to take me about an hour and 15 minutes is what it looks like to get there. But I want to meet at the Geographical Center of Ontario. And so Rob, Scott, you're on. Everybody else I don't care where you're at right now. If you're listening to this and it's not live, like you're listening to it maybe a couple of days after, Jackie will be there. She's going to be at the Geographical Center of Ontario, and she'll be there waiting for you. So let's chopper's going. I'm going to run out and get into it and meet you there.
Okay, you're on.
Now, I'm really just kidding on that. I know it sounds serious, but I'm just kidding. But it is about the same way that we set expectations for our team is, hey, meet me at the geographical center of Ontario. And then we run out of the room or run out of the office or run out of the meeting, and everybody is going, where is that? Well, it's kind of simple. It's right here. It's in Ontario, and it's not Toronto. I know most of you think that Toronto is the geographical center of the universe, okay? But it is not the geographical center of Ontario. And then if I wanted to get a little better at creating expectations, I might say, well, here it is. Here, it's a map. It's somewhere right here in the center. And then I'm thinking, oh, I got to get better at that. It's right there next to 631, up about in the middle someplace. And then we start trying to get better, and then pretty soon, well, it's right there next to old Hornpain. I think that it's not Horny Pain, is it? It's Hornpain, I think
Hornpain
is what it's called. Hornpain. Yeah, the town of Hornpain. So right there, let's meet there. I'll get in the chopper, I'll meet there. And then the chances, if there were 20 of us that said, okay, yeah, let's do it, the chances of us getting there and finding where we want to have a meeting would be pretty slim. And the same is true when we start setting expectations and saying do a good job. We'll talk about that statement here, or I told him we'll talk about that statement here in a few minutes. But if I said, hey, look, it is at the geographic center is right there at there's the latitude and longitudes that we can use. And if you find that, you'll find a sign there as well that is a marker that let's gather around that marker and have a meeting. That is clarity. And so I wonder if we ask ourselves, how many the geographic center of Ontario statements do we make each and every day to our crew, to our team, to our sales team, to our family, to our kids, to our spouses, to ourselves, that we're not clear in our expectations. We're not clear where we want to meet. We're not clear. We make a big, broad statement. And here's some geographic center of Ontario statements, like, I told them, oh, I don't know how many times I've told them, you know, we've all told our kids as they were growing, clean your room, and we walk past it. And what does it look like? It is a mess, but I told them, I don't know what we're going to do with them. Trade them in, I guess, whatever. But the idea of I told them, and we'll come back and talk about these and how to work through them, or making statements like, you've got to improve quality. Now, there's a wonderful book called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Yes.
Isn't it great? It's
good.
Jackie, when did you read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance?
Oh my gosh, 15 years ago.
Yeah, they gave it to us our first quarter in design studio as a freshman back as a landscape architect, to absolutely mess our brains up. That's what it will do to you. It's just it is a very good book.
It is.
But it's built around understanding what quality is. And the main character in the book literally goes crazy trying to understand what, and the crazy thing is, there's a true story behind it. So when we make statements about ambiguous terms of you've got to improve quality, we're not setting expectations, we're confusing our team. They get in and they just, now, is this quality? Is it not? Hey, make sure you do a good job. How many of us have said that? Hey, she's real particular. Make sure you do a good job. Well, that's as ambiguous as quality, or and so we make a mistake. How about this one? It's kind of like a plea for psychiatric help for our entire organization. What's the matter with you guys? You know, what is the matter with you guys? Please quit saying things like that to our team. What's the matter with you guys? That is just, you know, we don't know. Why don't you tell us what's the matter with us, and maybe we can start. Or another thing is just saying nothing. Just the person that comes in the morning and runs to their office and hides, or comes in, the crews are standing there and we don't stop to, how was the soccer match this weekend with the kids? Did you guys take that trip over the weekend? How did you guys do yesterday? What do you need from me? And at least acknowledge people. And so these statements that get us in trouble. And if we could step back and start thinking like things like, I told him. And wouldn't it be greater if we could say, come in, sit down, and think to ourselves, that was a great discussion. We worked that out. I feel like their ideas and my ideas, they know exactly what they need to be doing out there on the site. As a matter of fact, asking them and starting a discussion instead of just telling them,
Right.
Jackie, usually things end up 100 times better than if it was just our genius ideas, you know, that we think we have. I told them it's dangerous. It's much better to be saying we had a great discussion around it. And then learning to ask questions. Guys, what do you think a good job is today? If we could come back here and at the end of the day, say that was a win, what does that mean? What does that mean? Right. Even if it takes 3 to 5 minutes to talk about that, think about it, 3 to 5 minutes to talk about that, it is worth the 3 to 5 minutes as opposed to the 3 to 5 hours or 3 to 5 days a problem would bring up for us. So all of these things that are built around the idea of communicating and setting expectations, it takes time, it takes effort on our part as leaders, and yet maybe that's why we don't do it, and because it's hard. It is.
You know, Jim, I think that might partly be why a lot of them aren't here live this morning, is they don't think they have enough time.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm too busy. And I remember running Water's Edge Landscaping, and I'd have, 25, 30 staff. And I think, oh my God, okay, I've got to talk to this crew, and I got to talk to that crew, and I got to tell them this, and I have to tell them that, and I have to tell them something else, as opposed to eventually I learned to slow down so that we could all go faster.
Yeah.
And it's that clarity piece. I would start, as you saying, ask them questions. What will success look like for you guys at the end of the day today? What are you striving for? How do you need me to contribute to that? I love this, Jim. I love it.
It's a great thing you bring up, the idea of asking questions. I think in our minds, even from our youngest recollection of authority, and generally it is a teacher telling us something in a class, telling us something. So we start thinking as we grow up, that becomes the mindset that we have, that if we are leaders, whether it is a crew leader or a business owner, we fall into this thought process or into this habit of always making statements, always tell. And the other habit we learned from our youth is not to listen to authority figures. So everybody that's telling us things, nobody's listening to it. We're not listening to them. But the instant, think about this. Maybe I should start practicing. That's why sometimes Zoom meetings are tough, Jackie, is we do too much on it. But how could we engage people's brains? What would be the best thing that we can do? How can we take every statement we make and somehow turn it into a question? How could we get really good with it? Because I believe that's where the engagement happens, is when we ask a question and are patient enough to wait for an answer and ask it with sincerity, not with manipulation, Not that this is a new management technique to use. No, I really do care what you're thinking. Then people will start to step forward and start to make statements and start to talk to us and give us their input. But again, it's hard. Just like learning new habits, we've got to practice it. So it's hard to communicate. It's hard to set expectations. It's hard to take the time to realize that I don't have to rush. I can slow it down. It's hard, but you know what else is hard? And see what you all think of this live here or listening in the future. Here's what's hard is trying to make payroll every week because we're not being profitable. Bringing on new people because we've got a revolving door at the front and we're losing people and we're not onboarding in a correct way. Staying up all night wondering how we're going to get it done, over promising to a customer. That's hard too. So listen to this thought. I can't remember who said it. It might have been Scott Wentworth. I'm not sure, but it is choose your hard. Choose your hard. Which hard do you want? Do you want the hard that's over here on the side that is probably costing you money, costing you stomach linings, costing you great people, costing the profession great people joining us in our profession? Or will you take the hard that allows you to say slow down, to go faster, like Jackie said, and just start thinking through this a bit? I'll come up for air. Jackie, what are you thinking? Scott and Rob, what are you thinking?
I'll invite those who are here listening. This is fabulous, Jim, as always. But I'll invite Scott or Rob. We've got Carla Primsky here. Frank Bork has joined us. Ted Matlock. Why don't you guys just take a moment? Kyle Tobin's here. I'm just going to invite you to, if you've got a comment you'd like to make, or just chime in with Jim here for a moment. Just go right ahead and unmute yourself and ask him a question or make a comment. Scott, you're unmuted.
I love the point about the questions, and it's something I've been trying to focus on recently. And where my questions have been focusing have been aligning with the meaningful work that we do. So yesterday we had a bit of a gap in the planting schedule because we can't get enough materials to put in the ground, and we were having the Softscape teams pot up plants that we brought in plugs in 1 gallon containers, and it's all native plants that we had been using for perennial meadows and such. So I asked them the question, so what do you think happens with these plants? Where do they go? What's the life of these? What benefit are they going to bring? So it gives them the opportunity to start to think this through. Well, they know that these are to help pollinators and to increase biodiversity, because that's something that we've been focused on with the Softscape teams and the designers and such. So it starts to give them context and thought to what they're doing, but not in a way that's overwhelming. I think that's the other thing for clarity that has been a hard-learned lesson for me over 40 years in this profession is clarity comes by distilling it down to what are the simplest questions, what are the simplest goals, that type of thing. So.
Yeah. Scott, so many times, again, back to the idea of let's sound really intelligent and confuse the rest of our team so they can see just how intelligent we are. Again, it's a bad habit. We're bad. It's not that we're bad people. It's something that's stuck up here in our brain. And man, when we can simplify it down and think through, I love what you said, allow them to think through something. When we can allow our team to think through something and come up with a solution, man, we just built confidence in them. And if we spent our 90% of our time as leaders, think about this statement. If we spent 90% of our time as leaders building confidence in our team, what kind of teams would we have? What kind of business would we have? What kind of world could we create? What kind of profession we couldn't, our big problem then, you know, it would be hard then is getting enough business growing fast enough to keep up with all the leaders that are coming up behind us because they're so confident. I love businesses. I love our clients when you hear this problem at an executive team. You know what? We are going to have to open a branch. We've got people that are wanting to grow. We're going to have to do something else. And it's because they spent the time building people. And as leaders, if we can spend the time building people, growing people, making them confident, helping them create a great life instead of just making a living or having a job, we all win at those kind of things.
I agree with you, Jim. I just, something came to me just as you were speaking there, and Scott, what you were saying. And I think about, you know, setting expectations and getting people to engage, getting your team to engage. And what I just wrote down is we need to learn to be better at giving them the space to engage, because often I need engaged staff. I need my people to be engaged. And so it becomes something that you're almost forcing, like you're trying to get them interested. You're trying to get them to do apprenticeship and get them to do this and get them to do that. And we don't slow down enough to actually invite them to ask us questions about the native plants that you're planting out in a wildflower meadow. And what does that mean to you? And what do you think the life of these plants will be like? That's getting, like, Scott, that's wonderful to get them engaged, but it takes that, like that moment that it took to ask that question could create engagement for months with those people, right? But this, you know, this search for setting expectations and this search for clarity, and avoiding these questions or these statements that you've put up here. I told them they should know, or what were they thinking when they did that? Those are exactly what we need to move away from.
Yeah.
So Jim, this is lovely. I am going to ask Rob Redden. I noticed you're unmuted. Did you want to chime in here, Rob?
Yeah, no, Jim, this is great. It's really a great presentation and entertaining. The whole idea of the Center of Ontario is a good concept, and our team has grown exceptionally big very quickly as our company has grown, and spent a lot of time working with them with like the why and how their job and their actions help get us to the Center of Ontario, and not just say, hey, we're going to the Center of Ontario, but this is how we're going to get there. This is why we're going there. This is the route we're going to take. And just so you know, the map may change, but this is the plan now. And I do that within the teams and within, you know, larger teams, and then within the company, so that everyone understands how their little task, no matter how small it may be. And that came from a book called Extreme Ownership, written by 2 former Navy SEALs, and it was like, you know, getting everyone to buy into how small their job was to get to the Center of Ontario. And it was a real kind of epiphany for me as a leader, in being like, okay, yeah, you know, if the smallest kind of roles in the company, the smallest jobs, understand it's critical for the last part of the puzzle, then together, you know, we all succeed. And then you say, what do you do in the morning? Like, for my team, is always fun. Like, we are going to have fun no matter what. And if we're not having fun, we're going to stop and have something fun, because, you know, if we're having fun, then we're going to overachieve every single time. And, you know, and we've been doing that now for the 5 years I've been with this company. So this is great. I love this, Jim. Well done.
Thank you, Rob. And there is a magic in fun, isn't there? It brings an energy to us that money can't buy, and we'll probably all live longer when we're having fun. I think I had the good fortune yesterday of getting an email from one of our clients, and I'm going to show you that email now. Here in the U.S., we're used to redacting things now over the past year or two. So I've redacted a few things here on this to hide some names and try and. But when I received this yesterday and thinking about what we might talk about today, I thought, you know, I'm reading through Dave's email here, and I thought, this is textbook. This is so great. And this has been a client of ours for about 10 years. And this is where the idea of choose our hard comes from, because they've learned to do this. This is a branch manager within a larger company that has probably 50 to 60 team members. And they had an incredible month in May. They had, as most companies are having, but incredible. I mean, just really off. But what really impressed me, that this came yesterday morning at whatever it was, 7 or 8 o'clock on June 1st, telling about May. He was telling about, it came on June 1st, telling about May. He wasn't waiting for the numbers to come in. He wasn't, I should send an email out to everybody. And so when I went down through this email, I just started picking out some things that just excited me. And maybe I won't read the whole thing, but let's maybe look at what he did here, just if we can. Good morning, team. And he puts the name of the company in there. So team, it is okay. All of us, if we're coaching soccer, hockey, baseball, we, for our kids, we would be talking about team. Here it is as adults. Why not keep it going? So good morning, team, whatever. Share the numbers. Look at what has happened. I've updated our sales stats through May. Morning of June 1st, he has updated our sales stat. And you know what? Everybody, this goes out to all 80, however many people, from his admin executive team all the way out to the guys in the yard and on the crews. And click here. You can see an Excel spreadsheet of what our numbers look like. Let's share the numbers. Hey, I have enough confidence in you that I'm going to tell you how we're doing. Why not? You're part of my team here. So share the good news. It's been a funny journey, you know, and Jackie, and I know you've seen it, Scott, I know you have learned to work to this point. We don't want to tell everybody how good we're doing, because if we do, they might want to raise. And so we walk around acting broke, and we wonder why everybody else is looking disgusted at us. You know, things are tough. Look what another record month, shattering our previous best month, which happens to be last month, by over 675,000. Lots to be excited about here, team. So sharing the good news. He went down through things and talked about the successes that they're having, and talking about they have a bonus program that's amazing, and they've worked hard at it through the years of bringing it about. And but they have a chance to everybody in that to earn 5% of their pay, in this case for the first half of the year. And we're only 125,000 in sales away from the qualifying for that bonus. Do you think that they're going to be pretty excited the next day or two about hitting 125,000? I mean, they did 3 million last month.
Yeah.
Let's do 125,000. Let's knock it out here before lunch and qualify for 5% of our 5% of our bonus. Why not tell that to our team? Let them know. That is clarity and expectations. And guys, we're all going to enjoy this and celebrate this together. And so share good news. What do we tend to do? We can get into the habit of sharing the bad news. Guys, we are falling behind where the schedule's bad, all these things. And believe me, this is a great email, but I know Dave would admit that he could probably have plenty of not so great news to share there that comes with the pace that we're all keeping. So team, share the numbers, share good news, share the success, recognize individual achievement. It's okay to say that. Sometimes I've heard people say, I don't want to point out just any one person. You know what? You can point out any one person when you have a team. Don't you think, Jack?
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
you know what our team will do? They'll say, man, way to go, buddy. You killed it. Way to go. There's not this animosity, this jealousy, this favoritism. No, that stuff is dropped off a long time ago because of emails in the effort to put it in. Share insights. Here's his thoughts in just two sentences. You know, obviously we've had the benefit of some great weather this spring, but that shouldn't discount the effort you all have put forward. Great, keep your, to facilitate these sales, great job team. You know, he can say, hey, it's been a good run here, but we've had to keep up with it. And then the history tells us, what a wonderful, wonderful term. History tells us. What is that telling me? This guy understands. If I'm an employee, my manager understands the business. History tells us June, we should expect June to see an increase over May. Tell me if that's not setting expectations. You thought, you thought May was great? Man, history tells us June's going to be gooder. So let's go out and get it. You know, it's going to be great for us. Keep your head in the game. See, we can say statements like that when we understand the why behind it. We can make statements like that when we're understanding that we're all in this together. Keep your head in the game. Don't take your eye off the ball. All of those great coaching terms, but they really do apply. And this is what I think is really cool about this email. I think it's really something that we can all learn to do a little bit better, is share the next steps. So this TSI, this bonus for 5%, here's what we have to do. And this is some inventory things in the business that they're in, but he lays it out. There it is. Let's not, we're going to qualify, but let's not miss it because we don't keep up our into the deal on these other things that are just as important as hitting our sales numbers. So I bring that up, and I'll ask you all a question. What did your June 1st email look like? Or your June 1st gathering in the maintenance bay or out there in the yard as you pulled everybody together? What did your May 1st? What will your July 1st look like? And that idea of communicating to people like they count. That's what I thought about this. And everybody in this organization, their battle cry is everybody serves. Not everybody sells, not everybody serves. And that doesn't just mean for the customer. They really are committed to helping each other. And so in doing that, if you think about how many people are affected in the success that comes from this, the families, the children, the new people that have come on, do you think there's some excitement in the guy that showed up? It was his first month in May. Yeah.
Sure. Do you think?
There was we were having a leadership Zoom meeting, and we took a little break and we went out, and the vice president of this company came back, and he happened to be at this branch is where he was Zooming from. And he came in, he sat down, he said, I just met he's an 18-year-old young man out there. I said, hey, pace yourself here, pace yourself. It's you just started, pace yourself. There's it's a lot of work, long hours. He said, are you kidding me? No, I don't think he knew who Dwayne was, but are you kidding me? He said, man, I am going to hit it and get it. I am going to move up in this company. Well, that's a pretty good thing for somebody to tell the vice president in the middle of a leadership meeting, and he comes back in and sits down and tells that story. I'll tell you this. I'll make another statement that'll come up for air. I'd love to hear from you all. But I believe, and Jackie, you probably see this in consulting with organizations, But if any of us were to walk through any successful, great company today, we would see some kind of meeting going on, some kind of huddle, some kind of people gathered around a schedule board, people gathered around a set of plans, people gathered around an Excel spreadsheet and an agenda, but people would be meeting and communicating. If I were to walk through a company that was struggling right now, it's a sad thing. It's chaos. You can tell the way from body language to the owner hiding in his office or her office. And it's time to break those habits and just loosen
Bring
up.
people together.
Bring
right?
people together. Yeah. So thanks for letting me share that email, and because it's just a great example that we could all get a little bit better at doing. So
Thank you.
I'll come up for air and see what wisdom you can find here.
Kyle put in the chat here just while you were diving in there, Jim. He said, I definitely am stealing that everybody serves. I love it. Kyle, do you want to just comment on that?
Sure. Hi, Jim. How are you? Long time no see.
Yeah, thanks. Good to see you. Good to have you on. Thank you.
I love it when a simple statement like that is created somewhere that just kind of epitomizes everything you try to say with too many words. Everybody serves. I mean, we talk about everybody's in sales too, because people shy away from things like that. But this hits that even better though, when it's everybody serves.
Yeah.
That can be serving as pitching in on a sale or you name it.
Mm-hmm.
We're all encompassing.
It's a powerful thought.
Yeah.
Let me tell you where it came from, and this is going to be. It was about 10 years ago when we were working with them. We're all gathered, just started to work with them, and we're looking for this. And a statement like that, Kyle, is not a marketing phrase. You know, it comes from. We consultants, we could write up on the whiteboard a zillion different words, you know, different statements, and nobody buy into them. But when you hit it, it's like tuning up the guitar. You know, when those two strings just hit.
It's a philosophy. It hits every note.
Yeah, it's funny. You'll watch people go, no, that's not it. No, it's kind of like that, and then everybody serves. And they all lean forward like that. I watched it, the 12 people that we were working with, and it stuck like glue, man. It just stuck like glue. And they related to customers, they related to the community, they related to working with their vendors and the partnership with their vendors, and they related to supporting each other.
So who was it?
Yeah, what's that?
So who was it?
It is a company called Lurvy in Chicago, and they are an incredible organization, wholesale organization, wholesale retail that I've learned more from them than they would ever learn from me. But they set a great example.
It's great.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Does anyone else want to chime in here just before we let Jim dive back into his sort of last 20 minutes or so? Because we wanted to make sure everyone's got a chance to ask some questions or make some comments. So I'll just invite just for a moment, Ted or Carla, Frank, Scott, any of you have, or Rob, any of you have a comment you'd like to make or a question for Jim?
Well, great. Then I'll start asking questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scott, you've grown into meetings, and yet I remember, I don't know, 12 or so years ago when the Working Smarter Training Challenge idea came out. And man, you threw yourself into it. You brought the Kingston trio down, and you brought, you know, the Picton group together. You would meet every day or once a week. It seems like, where does that come from? That's a commitment. You would bring all those people together What were you thinking back then?
I've been asked that question before. What was I thinking on this? That was, hard to believe, Jim. That was 15 years ago. Might have been 16 years ago at this point now. We did that for 2 years, including during the off season. We would still meet weekly, and we would bring our key people together we'd meet at a community center which had a hockey rink. So we'd play some pickup shinny, and we'd have an hour long going through the Working Smarter training challenge. The strength of that is it brought everybody in line and speaking the same language in working towards those lean manufacturing principles applied to our profession through here. And it cost a lot of money. It cost a lot of money in time. It made us money, though. The net on that, we knew that we were up probably 60% over our cost was our net gain on the bottom line of the year for those 2 years. And we did it successively since then with a lighter version of that program. But having those meetings and such is really key, especially as the company's grown. We were about 24, 30 people or so at this point, or at that point then. Being at 100 now, we couldn't do that. So what we typically do is we break that down now, those full company meetings, into quarterly meetings where we would have everybody together at that point, but then have monthly, well, we have all sorts of meetings, but we still have full team communication all the way through. Today is the day for our weekly leadership team meeting, but it's also the end of Q1, which was the end of May. So this is the meeting that we affirm our goals and OKRs for Q2 for the next 3 months going forward. And what we've done is actually reduced the amount of goals that we're focusing on in each department. So each department has 2 key goals for Q2 that we're working on, that we share, and then see how everyone can work together towards accomplishing each of those departments' goals through the synergy of each department.
Yeah. I will, Scott, and not to brag on you too much, you were one of those companies that I thought if we were to walk through Wentworth today, there would be some sort of communication taking on, purposeful, meaningful communication. I think that happens on about any given day, even if it's, so what do you think that we're planting these plants? That's a good meeting in itself, and I think that's it's an awesome thing. So we know these things. We know we should be doing these. We do. We've all got bookshelves full of things that we've all gone to Congress for years, and we hear it, and we hear these wonderful things that we share. We go to dinner with people that tell us this is what they're doing. And so this question of what's next, this idea of, what is next? What do I do next here with this? I think thinking, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen here. Let y'all get big. Is making a choice, is to realizing that sometimes we go to Congress, or we read the latest book, or we hear something on a session like this, and then we think, that's what I'm going to do, and we dive headlong into it, and we wear it out. We wear our team out. I know sometimes I've watched in companies that, oh no, he's reading a new business book, which they know what's going to come after that. Guys, it is truly a journey. And just understanding those small steps that we can take. What is this? I think I've said this on maybe too many Landscape on Ontario, but what is the simplest thing we can do? What is it? Even if it's, I know what, let's start tomorrow morning with a positive quote, and I'll bring my 6 or 8 guys around and I'll give a quote and we'll talk about what it means. Even if it's just a chance to start opening up and talking about something other than how busy we are or how under the gun we are. And I love quotes. I love simple things that we can do. It is a journey. Kyle, even if you were to say, hey, what does everybody serve mean to you? Could you imagine the cool meeting you could have at that? Even if everybody goes at first, and this may, I don't know, I don't know. But then that's where you have to use a little humor and a little bit of prodding. If you could guess, if you could make up an answer, well, here's what it means to me. What do you think of this? Do whatever we can do to get a little bit of conversation happening, because we cannot come in with that great email. We cannot come in with a bonus program. We cannot come in bragging about somebody's great individual effort that they helped us with until we first learn to communicate and feel comfortable in doing that, and learn to like each other, and learn to respect each other, and learn to recognize, man, we're all in this spaceship Earth together thing, trying to make it. So our job as leaders is to really help people make it, and help and support them. And so the clarity, the things that we're talking about, the taking time to look people in the eye and to notice them and be clear. One of the things we can fall short on sometimes in setting expectations is we give hints. It's like, it'd be great if we can get that job done today. Well, that's a hint. That's a hint. Boy, it'd be great if we could all get in here on time. That's a hint. Let's really dive into it from a standpoint of just be clear. We need to complete this job today. What's it going to take? Is it going to take an extra person, another 2 people? What piece of machinery do you need? No hints. It's a good question to ask yourself sometimes. Am I giving hints? Then I guess I'll leave you with this thought, and then wrap up with it are we practicing doing the right things? And so many times we get into practice of doing the wrong things. We've made a practice about running to my office so nobody asks me a question or bothers me, or ignoring somebody, or giving hints, or barking orders. Am I practicing doing the right things, and practicing doing the right things right? And then I've made this statement before, is focusing on what's happening through us and not to us. All of us as leaders have an impact to change lives, and we're in the greatest profession ever, and maybe in the most exciting time of this greatest profession. Challenging times, but again, that's why we have to choose our heart. Are we going to fight to keep people and keep trying to recruit, or are we going to do the things that are going to build a team, create a sense of unity, and keep moving forward with it? And I think things like you're doing here, Jackie, and the great people that are involved in Landscape Ontario and the peer network, just everybody continue to support each other. The best is yet to come on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, that statement you made, focus on what is happening through us, not to us. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, if you, it's coming out of the next book that's coming out, Kyle. So
Well,
but it's
such a small group. Can we get the early?
Spoiler alert.
it's a wonder. It's something I've watched people, leaders that battle ups and down, the mood swings, the depression, the blues, the things that come, that whatever we want to call this thing. And there's something that they all have in common when they're in that dip, is they're all looking at what's happening to them, what's on their shoulders, all the things that are caving in around them. And if they don't have something really, they'll make it up in their mind, it just grows in their mind. But I've watched this even in my father when growing up, that he would be down, grouchy and ugly when he was just all concerned with what was happening to him. Even when he was in his 80s, he's gone now, but trying to get on tech, they've done something to me on my computer. You know, they're messing up my computer. They can't, but Dad was a totally different person when he focused on helping somebody else, or going to help somebody put a roof on, or going to help an uncle do something. Same is true for ourselves and our leaders. When we can get focused on what's happening through us and not to us, we are naturally going to be that leader that people want to be around. And and again, can't change it tomorrow, but we can start working on focusing more on what's happening through us with those small steps. So thanks for asking.
Well, yeah, so I feel like, because I think it's a very compelling statement. It's kind of like the intersection of gratitude and helpfulness. Is that?
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah.
It makes me think of the difference between when we contract or expand, right? And the difference between fear and love, the two core emotions that exist. And when you're focusing on things that are happening to us, we're operating from a place of fear and we're contracting. And when we're focusing on things that happen through us, we're focusing on the emotion of love and all of the emotions that revolve around that, like helpfulness and gratitude and mentorship and nurturing. And that's when we're more expansive. And I think, Kyle, the best example, and Jim, the best example of this is the last 15 months, where so many people in different communities, you know, here in Ontario, we've been in lockdown for, I don't know, the last couple of months, stay-at-home order, you know, and I look at my friends, I look at my clients, and I can tell the people who have been focusing on what's happening to them. And I can tell the people who've been focusing on what's happening through them. And I've struggled to stay in that place, to stay in that anchored, grounded place, to operate from love, from gratitude, especially from a place of gratitude, and to be thankful and to be supportive and loving as opposed to being fearful. And so I think that's a wonderful statement, Jim and Kyle. I'm glad that you asked for some clarity on it, and I can't wait to see the book.
Me too. Getting closer. Yeah, I think when we can get out of our truck in the morning and let our presence go past the footlights. I'm a great big Bruce Springsteen fan. And if you watch a Bruce concert, he allows his whole persona, the whole band, it goes past the footlights on the stage and it touches the people all the way to the back of the auditorium. And if we could get out of our trucks in the morning as owners, as leaders, and just kind of let our personality go out and fill our yard, fill our offices, and in a very positive way, and look at the difference between abundancy and scarcity, and we will impact great people tremendously, starting with ourselves. I believe that's really a great place to start it.
I agree. Kyle, any other comment?
No.
Nope.
I'm disappointed there's not that many people here because I don't think they can really understand or appreciate the value that Jim adds to conversations and thought and getting into the right frame of mind. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you're here, Jim.
Thanks, Kyle.
I sure do too.
We had the right people on. That's all I know this morning. All right. The others will be, man, boy, that was good. They'll just do it. And guys who are listening on the recorded version, thanks a bunch for listening from all of us.
Absolutely. We had, Kyle, 46 people registered for this morning. And I'm really looking forward to seeing a few comments on the Peer Network chat on Facebook after you guys have all had a chance to listen to Jim and to listen to his great words of wisdom and the conversation with Scott and Kyle and everyone else here this morning, to see what your feedback is and whether or not you're able to trust Jim's advice here, that in order to go faster, you have to slow down, and how important to set expectations. What I've taken from this, Jim, and help me if I've missed a couple of points here, but asking questions and being really, really clear with two-way communication is far more valuable in the journey of setting expectations than to tell.
Yeah, it is. It is. And asking questions will naturally slow us down, naturally engage people, and naturally make a difference.
It's that including versus directing.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
When we can include versus direct, that's slowing down. Like you know what? I learned this in Water's. Scott, I know you've learned this in your business as well. The value of those meetings, the value. I've been through the halls of Scott's company many times, and there's always a meeting going on somewhere.
Yeah.
There's always 2 or 3 people huddled talking about something, or they're in the boardroom, or they're upstairs in an office, or there's always a huddle of some sort. And it's that thinking, thinking that people are not doing their tasks is the trap. And that's where expectations become directions as opposed to conversations.
Yep.
And that's what I'm taking from you, Jim, is that setting expectations is far more about conversations than it is about directions.
Yeah. Well said, Jackie. Well said. Good stuff, guys. I sure appreciate the opportunity to see you all and to talk with you and wish you the greatest June coming up here in the best summer.
Thank you, Jim. I'm so grateful for you supporting this peer network. And I'm going to tug you back down memory lane. 17 years ago, you and I stood in a room at Landscape Ontario, and we had this idea called Prosperity Partners. And we didn't know what it could possibly look like. And you grabbed the marker, and next thing I knew, we couldn't see any white space on the whiteboard, and the ideas are flying all over the place, and you were going like a wild man. And here we are 17 years later. That's those seeds that you planted and those ideas that you brought to us, and that energy and that hopefulness that you brought has helped to create this path of Prosperity Partners for Landscape Ontario. And I think the profession is so much stronger because of it and because of your energy and your leadership early on in the game.
I remember that day, and when you were saying it, I was just thinking, I sure hope I asked some questions.
You did. You did.
Good.
Okay. All right, everyone. Be safe, be well. Thank you for being here. Jim, as always, so grateful for your expertise and your insight.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Bye, guys.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
Jim.
care,
Thanks,
everyone.
Jackie. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.